Hello friends, we are looking at business arithmetic. This is lesson 6. In this lesson we are going to look at simple interest. Now when you borrow money or when you lend out money, that amount of money that you have lent out, if you invest an amount of money, maybe you can fix that amount of money in the bank, or maybe you can fix it in any other financial institution. That amount of money is what we call the principal. And the charge that amount of money fetches, that charge that you get from that amount of money, or that you'll pay from that amount of money that you have borrowed, is what we call the interest. Now, simple interest in this case is an interest which is charged on only the original principal. For example, if you put 500,000 shillings in the bank, it means that the principal will remain 500,000 for the subsequent time period, maybe years or months. It will remain, the charge will always be got from only that principal 500,000. That is called simple interest. So if the interest is paid or is withdrawn periodically, the principal remains the same. That is simple interest. That is simple interest. We have a formula for simple interest, and that is I is equal to P times R times T divided by 100. And after getting the interest, you can be told to calculate the amount, where you may want to know the total amount of money that you're going to fetch from the bank. For example, if you have invested or you have deposited, or let me say you have fixed 500,000 shillings. Let's say the interest after 5 years, you have got something like 100,000 shillings. That means that your amount is going to be that principal, which is 500,000, plus your interest, which is 100,000 shillings, and that will give you around 600,000 shillings. So amount that is got is given by the principal plus the amount. In this case, the principal is represented by P. P is the principal, I is the interest, and then the T is the time, R is the rate. So that is how you can get the interest and then the amount. Let us make a note here. Let us note that if the rate is in per annum, then the time is in years. And if the rate is per month, then the time is in months, and so on. For example, if the rate is in per day, then the time will be in days. If the rate is per week, then the time will be it will be in weeks, and so on and so on. Also, let us note that SI is used to represent simple interest, and then PA is used to represent per annum. Let's look at some example. Example 1, find the amount one receives when he invests 350,000 shillings for 4 years at 15% per annum, simple interest. Now here we have the principal, which is 350,000 shillings. The time is 4 years, the rate is 15% per annum. So we can use the formula, that is I is equal to P times R times T divided by 100. And then we substitute P is 350,000 shillings, R is 15, and then T is 4. Divided by 100 will give you 210,000 shillings. After getting the interest, we can now get the amount. Remember, amount is equal to the principal plus the interest. So it means that we're going to have the principal, which is 350,000 shillings, plus the interest, which is 210,000 shillings, which will give us 560,000 shillings. So that is the amount that this person receives. Let us look at another example. Example 2. Erukana invests 400,000 shillings for 1¼ years at 4.5% per month. Simple interest. Find, that is part A, find the interest he will receive, and part B is find the amount he will get in 3.75 years. First of all, let us get the interest he will receive. Remember, interest is given by P times R times T divided by 100. And we said that if the rate is per month, then the time must be in months. But here we have the time in years. So we need to change this to months. So we know that T is going to be 1¼ years. But remember, 1 year is equal to 12 months. So if we have 1¼ which is 5/4 years, we shall multiply by 12 to get the time in months. That is 15 months. So the time is going to be 15 months. After that, we can now use the formula I is equal to P times R times T divided by 100. Now, when we substitute, the principal is 400,000. The 400,000 shillings. The rate is 4.5, and then the time is 15 divided by 100. When we substitute there, we shall get our interest as 270,000 shillings. Because this is 400,000 divided by 100 divided by 2, which gives us, actually this would be like 100 times 2, which is 200. So it's going to be 400,000 divided by 200, which gives you 200. 2,000. Then 9 times 15 gives you 135. That's how we get this. When we multiply, we get 270,000 shillings. Let's look at the second part, that is part B. Now in part B, we need first of all get also the time. Remember, the time has changed. So we have to get the new time there. That is, we have 3.75. When we change this, this is the same as 4 times 3 plus 3, that is 15, divided by 4. So that's going to be 15/4 times the 12. Then we get 45 months. So that means that the time is going to be 45 months. Remember, we in this part, second part of the question, we want to get the amount. But you can't get the amount before getting the interest. So let us first get the interest. Interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the time divided by 100. Now the principal is 400,000 shillings. The rate is 4.5. The time is 45 months. Then divide by 100. That will give us an interest of 810,000 shillings. After getting the interest, we get the amount. Amount is equal to the principal plus the interest. But remember, the principal is 400,000 shillings. The interest is 810,000 shillings, which gives us a total of 2,210,000 shillings. And we add this. Yeah, so that is how we can calculate for the amount that he will receive. Let us look at another example. Kate borrowed shillings 300,000 and returned shillings 384,000 at a rate, that is a simple interest rate of 7% per annum. Find the time she spent with the money. So we want the time she spent with the money. Now here we have the principal, we have the amount, so we can get the interest. Then we use the interest to get the time. So remember, the amount is equal to the principal plus the interest. So if I want to get the interest, it's going to be the amount minus the principal. So we can get our 384,000 shillings minus 300,000 shillings, and that will give us 84,000 shillings. That is the interest. But remember, interest is equal to principal times the rate times the time divided by 100. When you substitute, the interest is 84,000. The principal is 300,000, and then times the rate, which is 7% per annum, and then the t, that's the time, is not known, divided by 100. So when we multiply 300,000 times 7 divided by 100, that will give us 21,000 times t, which is 21,000 t. So we shall have 84,000 is equal to 21,000 t. Divide through by 21,000, so that we make t the subject. We shall have t is going to be 84,000 divided by 21,000. When you divide this, we shall get 4, and so the time is going to be 4 years. Let's look at another example. That is example 4. Kafero borrowed some money for 4 years at 12% per annum. That is simple interest. He returned shillings 103,600 to the bank. How much money did Kafero borrow? Now here we have the amount he returned. We have the time he spent with the money. We have the rate. So we need the principal. That's how much he borrowed. That is the principal. So first of all, we know that amount is equal to the principal plus the interest. We don't know the principal, we don't know the interest, but we know the formula for interest. So let us first of all make interest the subject here, and we shall have I is going to be the amount minus the principal. And if we get the amount is 103,600 minus the principal, which is P. So here we have I is equal to this, but also we know that interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the time divided by 100. And so it means that if we substitute, remember P we don't know, rate we have, it is 12, and then the T is 4. So it means that if I put I is 103,600, so if I put it here, then substitute for this, we shall have 103,600 minus P is going to be the P times the 12 times the 4 divided by 100. Now here, when we multiply 4 times 12, or 12 times 4, that gives us 48, divided by 100, that is 0.48 times P, that will give us 0.48 P. Now we need to collect the like terms. Now we have P this side, we need to take it this side to the right, so we shall add P on both sides. So we shall have minus P plus P, which is 0, is equal to 0.48 P plus P, which is 1.48. So we shall have 103,600 is equal to 1.48 P. Then we make P the subject, so we shall divide through by 1.48. 1.48 on both sides. We shall have our P as 103,600 divided by 1.48. That will be the P. And so when you divide that using your calculator, we shall get 70,000 shillings. That is one way we can calculate for that. Another way, let's look at another method we can use to calculate for the principal. Now in this method, we know first of all that interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the time divided by P. So divide by 100. So we can let X be P, or let P be X. We can let this principal to be X. If we let the principal to be X and we substitute there, we shall have our I as X times R times T divided by 100. And when we substitute, that will give us X times 12 times 4 divided by 100. Now 4 times 12 divided by 100 will give us 0.48. Times X, that will give us 0.48X. So it means that I, which is the interest, is 0.48X. Now we also know that here we have the interest. We also have the formula for the amount. So we know that amount is equal to the principal plus the interest. Now, when we get the amount, we have the amount already. We need the principal. Our interest is this. So the amount is, when let's substitute the 103,600 is going to be equal to principal, which is x, times the interest, which is 0.48x. When we add x plus 0.48x, that gives us 1.48x. So we shall have that, divide through by 1.48, so that we make x the subject. Then we shall have our x as 103,600 divided by 1.48. When we divide that, we shall still get our 70,000 shillings. So it means that he would have borrowed 70,000 shillings. Yeah, so that's how we can deal with simple interest. Thank you so much for attending to this lesson. And in the next lesson, we are going to be looking at compound interest. So please don't miss and invite your friends. Bye.